morning on Thursday, the 18th of March. And I was thinking tomorrow, the 19th, is another Saints' Day. And of course, in nonconformist traditions, we don't really recognise and celebrate saints very much in the way that other traditions do. And obviously we had St. Patrick's Day yesterday, and we all generally remember St. David's Day in this part of the world on the 1st of March, of course. And the majority of people are aware of St. George's Day. People are aware of St. Nicholas as a word, as a name. But we tend not to acknowledge them, and that isn't really what this is about. It was simply that I became aware that tomorrow was St. Joseph's Day. And I'm not sure quite why, but I read something and up it popped. And so I then started to think about St. Joseph, about Joseph, the husband of Mary. And it occurs to me that all too often he's not forgotten, but sidelined. And part of that is because there's so little mention of him. Once you've got past the Christmas story and the fact that we know he has to go to Bethlehem as being part of the house of David and so on, and that he's warned in a dream to keep Mary safe by going by a different route. He's then mentioned again when Jesus was 12 and they go up to the temple. And then there's very little mention at all. There's the odd allusion, but really very little else. And there's an assumption that Mary, in fact, is widowed, probably fairly young, inasmuch as when Jesus was crucified at 32, Joseph wasn't in evidence. And had he have been, he would have taken responsibility for the body. So that's a clear indication that he wasn't around then. But there's a sense in which, and you can look this up, of course, for yourselves, there's a sense in which he was quite probably not around very much for a while before that, too. There's no mention of him in any of the stories or any of the other situations, like the wedding feast, for example. We know Mary was there, but there's no mention again of Joseph being there. So there are a number of reasons why we think that, quite probably he wasn't actually around for quite a lot of Jesus, certainly probably teens perhaps. But you can research this yourselves if this tickles your curiosity. Now, the thing about Joseph is that he was vitally important, of course. When all's said and done, he was betrothed to a girl, and she tells him that she's pregnant. And he knows that he couldn't be the biological father, and yet he stands by her. He goes on to marry her. He is there when Jesus is born. He stays with her, and we understand there are brothers and possibly sisters too. Excuse me. Later on. And he provides, as a carpenter, he provides for his family. He continues to offer support. And he doesn't, although he was subsequently sainted, he doesn't at the time seem to take a prominent place. And then I started to think through all of this last year, how important it's been to people to have somebody who stayed there, who hung on in when things were really difficult, who stayed alongside us when we were climbing the walls because we couldn't do stuff. The weather outside was awful. In some cases, people had their income slashed to almost nothing, and that gave them money worries. When they had their children stuck in the four walls and were trying to educate them. There have been any number of things that have happened that will have pushed relationships, I'm sure, to, if not the limit, to an extent. Because the situation has been abnormal and not unnatural exactly, but not the norm for most of us. And I know that's given a lot of people pause for thought. And then, of course, we've got people who haven't had anybody alongside them physically because they've lost their partners. And this has brought into sharp relief the fact that now they're on their own when they've got families that they haven't been able to see who are away. And all of these things just were sort of running round in my head, hence all of this rambling, really, and how we need to be thankful for all of those people who have either literally or metaphorically or virtually been alongside us and actually been there for us, however frustrating some of the time that's been, and however much on occasion we've maybe not been as appreciative as we might be. But above all, through all of this, right back at the beginning, I stood in church just a year ago now, before we went into the first lockdown, and said, God has this. And I've said it several times since, and I'm going to say it again now. God has this. We are still hanging on in, and the weather's improved, and hope is much, much bigger now, isn't it? That people are being vaccinated and so on. So I really just wanted to give thanks for people like Joseph, who walk alongside even when they don't necessarily quite understand what's going on, and are possibly inside feeling unsure, maybe even hurt or angry, but still hang on in and listen to the voice of reason, the voice of an angel, the voice of God that says what you are doing is the right thing. What you are doing is a good thing. And I give thanks for those people, whether they're friends, neighbours, virtual friends, family members, whoever they are, for those people who have stayed alongside others and are still doing that. Thank you, and God bless.